lucha? You want lucha? You want lucha? You want lucha? I've got lucha for you!
Welcome to Back to the Temple, the Lucha Underground Rewatch podcast. This is episode 4, The Thrill of the Hunt. I'm Adam from FWCI and joined as always by my co-host who's always got the best intros in podcasting, Malik. What's up, Malik?
Howdy, homies, and happy Valentine's Day, bitches.
That rolled right off the tongue, man.
Perfect.
Malik, how are you enjoying Lucha Underground so far with episode 4 in the books?
Episode 4 is another... I keep saying this every single episode, but it's just topping itself. And I don't know what the peak of Lucha Underground is going to be because every episode is better than the last. I really enjoyed this one. It's got me interested to keep going with it. I had to rewatch it a couple of times because we've rescheduled this, but each time I rewatched this episode, I was never bored by rewatching it. I always had fun going through the matches again because they were that great in the show.
Yeah, I think this episode was very much like one of the very typical Lucha Underground episodes. I mean, we have the match with Phoenix and Pentagon, and we have Drago and King Cueno, and the roster and the lineup that we have in this episode feels a lot more like legit Lucha Underground. It's not the B squad, not that there's the B squad, the A squad, but you know, this is really like the performers that made this show entertaining for me. But I'm loving going through this. I haven't watched this show in quite some time, so I am really having a good experience going through these storylines and seeing how they very slowly introduce these characters that I know are going to grow on to be, you know, something very significant. But let's just jump straight into the episode breakdown for this one, because it starts off with a recap of the debuts from last week and Johnny Mundo challenging Big Rick via Dario Cueto in the office there. And one thing I just wanted to quickly touch on, we get a lot of establishing shots of Los Angeles. Have you noticed that? There's a solid like 10 to 20 seconds every episode, or every break, of just shots of like the LA highways and like a panning shot of the Los Angeles skyline. How do you feel about the establishing shots they use to introduce the show?
It's really, really cool, and I love the cinematic feel that it gives to the show. I wonder though, was the show actually filmed in Los Angeles though, or was it just they had shots for the show in Los Angeles?
So it's filmed exactly where it looks like it's filmed on the episode. Boyle Heights, there was a warehouse there that they, found and hired out to hold the episodes. Weird thing about it is, I don't know if I've mentioned this, there was no cost for the tickets for Lucha Underground because, like we've covered in the last episodes, it's not a wrestling promotion as much as it is a TV show, and you don't pay for tickets to be a live audience in a TV show. So it was kind of an interesting thing. I would love to have lived in the neighborhood where it happened and been able to go to like every single taping. It would have been just, a really good fun time to have that local.
That would have been the coolest thing to like be a fan in Los Angeles right around the temple. Just be like, fuck yeah, every week I'm gonna go and watch this show live. Like that would have been one of the coolest experiences to have as a fan for this show.
Yeah, 100%. I'm envious of the regular believers that they get in the temple. But the other little thing that I noticed in the opening of this is we got a live band. Now, have we had a live band on this show yet?
Yeah, we had one for the first episode. I was gonna say something about it, but we moved on. But the live band that was in the first episode and the live band in this one, I think it's probably the best way they can start the show. I fucking love the live bands. It's a really cool entrance to the show.
It gives the show a real kind of like gritty, realistic kind of feel. Because, you know, if this was like a truly an underground fight club, they would probably have live music and stuff there. Like, that's how these things kind of play out. So, and they don't spend too much time on the bands. It doesn't become a focus of the show, but it's one of those little, you know, details that they add to the show that I think just really adds to the authenticity of the story they're telling.
Yeah, it feels really organic, but also really special at the same time when it comes on.
Yes, indeed. So the show starts with Sexy Star, who cuts a promo on Chavo Guerrero, calling him a stupid coward. She says, next time I see you, you better bring the chair because that's the only way that you'll beat me. I'm going to embarrass you for what you did to the legends, Blue Demon and Masquerita Sagrada, and for laying your hands on me. And she says, the hands of this queen will end the Guerrero dynasty. Obviously, all of that was actually said in Spanish, but what were your thoughts on the promo from Sexy Star?
I thought the promo was really fun, and it's a great way to start the show because I really wanted to see the storyline continue from the last time when Chavo was spoken to. Like, he was warned that a lot of people are going to come after him, and now it's not the people Conan was talking about, but just starting to see everyone turn on Chavo Guerrero. Yeah. And it's really fun to see how that's going to like play out, because Chavo, I don't think he made an appearance in this episode, but no. I feel like in the future episodes, what I envision is just Chavo being this anxious wreck, like with everyone coming after him, and I think that's a really cool entrance for the show for her to start attacking Chavo.
Yeah, exactly. It's really adding more to that story that they've been telling every single week. I really dig the promos in Spanish with the subtitles. I don't know what it is. Pentagon gets a lot of those, as I think we saw a bit of that on this episode here. I really dig the subtitles, the subtitled promos from Sexy Star, and I thought it was a fantastic promo. A lot of fire and passion from her in that one there, talking about the legacy and the, you know, Mexican heritage and stuff as well. But Ivelisse would interrupt, and that's where we get another bit of a promo. She says, that's what you get for messing with somebody tougher than you. You're not the baddest luchadora here. You hide that ugly face with that ugly mask. I'm the baddest bitch in the building. So we're getting more of that, you know, real tough, gritty side of Ivelisse. And then that led to Sexy Star versus Ivelisse in a match. So any initial thoughts on Sexy Star versus Ivelisse?
It was a really fun, fast-paced match like we've seen from them in previous episodes, but I'm not too familiar with Ivelisse's character at the moment, so I don't really understand why she's a heel in this situation, but I don't mind it because it was obviously just a match just to have her get heel heat, but because I'm not familiar with Ivelisse as a wrestler, I just was a little bit confused as to why she's even coming after Sexy Star. But when they got in the ring, it didn't really matter to me because the match was just that entertaining. It just went in the back of my mind anyways.
I think we're on the verge of finding out a lot more about Ivelisse, and it doesn't really spoil anything, but I think you can probably look at her as kind of like almost like a biker chick in a way.
Yeah.
Like that kind of like, you know, and I think she's Hispanic, so maybe more of like a cartel kind of, you know, bruiser kind of chick. Like she's just that real rough, like, you know, street chick, and she's got like, you know, the physique to kind of, you know, really carry that sort of thing, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely want to see more of her story expanded.
Yeah, and we will definitely see more of Ivelisse, but match-wise, I thought this one was fantastic. I thought they had reasonably good chemistry. There was a couple of moments in there that the timing wasn't really on, and I'm glad we get to see that because it really helps you feel like you're not watching something that is, you know, ridiculously over-edited, basically. I don't know if you've ever heard of a show called Wrestling Society X. Have you heard of this?
No, I've never heard of it.
Oh, man. This was like what Lucha Underground like was compared to when it very first came out. What Wrestling Society X was, I think it was on MTV. It was a bunch of like non-WWE wrestling people in like the early 2000s. I think X-Pac was on there. I think Son of Havoc from Lucha Underground was on
Now I
that
think
show
I have
when he
vague
was
memories of what you're talking about. I think I know.
And there was like special effects and stuff. There was like
Yeah.
lightning bolt strikes CGI'd into it, but it looked terrible.
Explosions
it
and
was,
shit.
Yeah, it was really, really bizarre. Like that was but if you go back and watch those, you can see that those matches are just edited out the asshole. Like they don't even care about it. Ended up just looking like a montage of moves because they just didn't bother really editing any continuity in the matches. They were just going between like, you know, high spot to high spot. But I'm glad Lucha Underground is like warts and all, where we get to see some of the mistakes and things as well. At least it gives us a bit more of a you know, believability that what we're seeing is something we can actually, you know, talk about and critique.
Yeah, it gives Lucha Underground a really gritty feel in the matches.
Yeah, so the end of the match is Ivelisse getting a little bit too cocky with all of her heel antics as she just brutalizes Sexy Star, and that leads to the cradle, Mahistral cradle pinfall from Sexy Star to get the win. So Sexy Star is starting off pretty damn strong. She lost to old mate Son of Havoc, and then she pinned Chavo Guerrero. Now she's pinned Ivelisse. So Sexy Star is a character who, again, is going to be like a pretty significant name, especially in the first season of Lucha Underground.
Yeah, and they're definitely building her up to be this like really cool wrestler for the first season. So I want to see how she develops as a wrestler, because she's got these 2 wins now, and I feel like she could go against pretty much anyone in the fucking roster and do all right. So it will be fun to see the matches that are made for the show with her in it, because they're gonna have so many of my fucking dream matches with Sexy Star. Because I'm sure they'll have another rematch with Sexy Star and Ivelisse, but they'll have some really cool matches, I'm sure. Maybe Sexy Star versus Penta, maybe. That's just something in my head that would be fucking crazy, but I don't know, maybe.
Well, keep that in mind. Remember those. Remember that thought, because yeah, we'll be seeing a lot more of her. But the next part of the show was the backstage vignette with Drago and Dario Cueto meeting in the locker room. And I mean, we talk about this show having efficient storytelling and getting the most out of every match and every, you know, scene and everything like that. Last week we had the triple threat match between Drago, Pentagon, and Phoenix. All right, so Phoenix won, so that's his storyline. He's the guy who won the match. Pentagon didn't win. I guess they didn't really follow up on him not winning, but they do follow up on Penta a bit here with the match this week. Even Drago, the guy who wasn't pinned in that match, they've managed to find a way to make that triple threat storyline mean something to Drago as well, with Dario coming in and telling him, like, you didn't win, you didn't lose, why am I paying you to be here? Like, which is a bit of an odd thing for Dario to say, but the aesthetic of this scene with them in the bathroom is just awesome. That is your typical Lucha Underground, those kind of backstage scenes.
Yeah.
What did you think of Dario going up to Drago and giving him the business?
That whole promo was one of the sickest things I've ever seen. I loved every fucking bit of it from beginning to end. I love Drago's look too. He's a man of few words, but holy shit, he has one of the coolest looks I've ever seen for a wrestler ever. Like when he did that tongue thing to Dario, it was fucking. It sends chills down your spine when you see it. I really love Drago. He's one of my favorites so far.
Yeah, I'd say aesthetically, he's probably got the best look in Lucha Underground, just with how, like, he's got the face paint on underneath. He looks kind of scorched, like his mask and his armor and everything that he wears, like, is all very kind of, like, gritty and dirty, and it's just a fantastic look. And he's got a few different attires as well, so you're going to see quite a bit of variety from Drago as far as his ring attire, but... yeah, this segment was awesome. Seeing Dario just get up in his face like that, you know, just adds more to the, you know, the balls and the cojones, I guess, of Dario Cueto. But
yeah, Dario's one of the coolest fucking characters on TV, I swear.
Oh, he's a king. He's an absolute legend. But next we had, from one legend to another, Pentagon Jr. in the ring cutting a promo, and a very interesting promo as well. He says, in Mexico, he said, again, this is all in Spanish, subtitled, but he says, in Mexico, no one respects me, not even the fanatics, nor the bosses, nor the other Pentagons. I don't know who the other Pentagons are, but I would love to explore that storyline one day. He says, thank you to Dario for giving me the respect I deserve. After I take care of some unfinished business, what I do to Phoenix is just an example of what will happen to whoever wants to confront me. Zero miedo. So, strong promo from Pentagon. Again, it's that real kind of, talking about in Mexico, no one respects me, not the bosses. Like, it feels like his backstory is so rich at this point, and we've only just seen like a fraction of it, which that's exactly what you want to have with the character.
And he said it so well too, like his energy on the mic for that entire segment was fucking killer. Like he was just, it felt like every word he was saying was believable.
Yeah, 100%. It's I guess you don't see many non-English speaking promos. Well, I don't anyway. But even in like non-English speaking TV shows with subtitles and stuff like that, it can be a little bit testing to sort of stay engaged. But Pentagon's delivery and then just the look of him as well, with the contacts and the face paint and the mask and everything, like he just oozes charisma every single thing he does. And his match against Phoenix, I don't know, best match of the series so far, I'd say.
Personally, it wasn't my favorite, but it was my second favorite.
And which match do you say is the best so far? Or not the best, your personal favorite?
Well, it's actually the one that comes after this, Drago versus King Cueno.
Okay.
But it's for different reasons. Different reasons for that one. But the reason why I really fucking love this match is because we've seen Penta and Phoenix like steal the show before in that triple threat match, but this is the first time where they had that one-on-one encounter, and it feels like the storyline is picking up, and we're seeing Pentagon join Dario's side and these two brothers that clash, and the storyline and the match came together so perfectly in this, and it was entertaining beginning to end.
Yeah, I'm pining for the day that we get to see Pentagon in a singles role in AEW. That would be sick. They signed him. When they signed him, I was like, well, there's their top heel. Like, that was easy kind of thing. And then they kind of paired him together with Phoenix. So I'm sure AEW's just like, hey, he wrestled in Impact for a little while, but let's just like give him some tag team experience and make sure that, everyone knows what's going on. But man, yeah, Pentagon in a singles role, I love. Phoenix wins with the Spanish Fly, which they kind of botched the finish a little bit. I should probably take that into account when I'm calling this the best match of the series. They did botch the finish a tiny little bit, and Penta's shoulders weren't down, and they had some odd timing as well. So
it was a little confusing.
Yeah, not the best finish there. But again, I appreciate the fact that they're not going for some kind of overly edited, flawless kind of look. But moving on, we get the vignette for my personal favorite Lucha Underground wrestler, King Cueno. This is the guy, when I first started watching this show, took a few episodes to really get into him. But man, this is the guy that I started tuning in to see what he was going to do next. And in his little vignette, they say, what you call savage, I call survival. What you call evil, I call a way of life. You call me a predator, well, I call you prey. King Cueno hunts tonight. So obviously a very hunting-based kind of gimmick for King Cueno.
Well, it's such a cool fucking gimmick for King Cueno. That promo, when he got that taxidermy deer head and he's carrying that and they're talking about the fucking predator and prey, I was immediately hooked into the Cueno character. You said it took you a while. I kind of watched that promo and I was intrigued, and then the second I saw his entrance out into the ring and him start to wrestle, then I was just immediately hooked into him.
Yeah, when I first started watching this, things like Cueno coming out with the buck head on his head and things like that, I didn't really get it yet. Like, I was a bit like, I don't know about this. Like, I had to really sort of, like, the show had to win me over legitimately with the in-ring product, and it definitely did. But yeah, I was he was a character that I was a little bit iffy about when I very first saw him. But yeah, we're going to see him do some amazing stuff. But he embodies the gimmick of the Hunter so much. Like, all throughout the match, he was so methodical and calculated. He was like, crouching down. You probably didn't see it here. I think he does it before every match. He like reaches down and just like lightly brushes his fingers over like the mat, like a hunter, like touching the the sticks of the terrain when they're hunting their their prize or whatever.
That's fucking cool.
You'll see, pay attention to that kind of thing, because you'll see a lot of that sort of like mannerisms that he incorporates into this character. And what's even more interesting is he was very accomplished as El Hijo del Fantasma, which is the son of the Phantom. He was a pretty big name in Lucha Libre when he joined Lucha Underground, and El Rey gave him this King Cueno character. So you'll never see King Cueno wrestling on the indies. You'll see El Hijo del Fantasma, or you'll see him in NXT as Santos Escobar.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot for a second that he was in NXT, so I'm gonna have to check out like clips of him, because I haven't seen any of him in NXT yet.
Honestly, NXT is a bit of a weird brand to follow these days, but
yeah, I heard.
every segment he's in, he still kills it. Like, all the stuff that he embodied and learned in Lucha Underground, he still carries with him in WWE. Like, just the drama and the intensity kind of thing. Like, he really is a fantastic wrestler and has all the tools that anybody could possibly want.
How long has he been in NXT for, would you say?
Couple of years at this point.
All right. Well, if he's been there for a couple of years, I can go have a look at NXT before the big change to give him a look. Anyways,
he has a squad named Legado del Fantasma. So they even let him keep a bit of a reference to his Lucha Libre persona. But Legado del Fantasma are a quality crew, like Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde. Those guys being his two. Carmen, not Carmen Electra, Carmen, not San Diego. Shit, what's this chick's name? Electra Lopez, that's who I'm trying to think of. She wears a hat like Carmen San Diego, and she has the name like Carmen Electra, so leave me alone. Yeah, he's got a fantastic crew happening on NXT.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out for sure.
So during this match, Cueno got most of the offense in. He was just that sort of slow, stalking, very methodical kind of thing. But Drago with the upset win. I'm not going to lie, I was pretty shocked seeing that. Just sort of, knowing how much I love King Cueno, I would have just assumed that he would win his debut match. But he will have to hunt Drago another time. And you're going to see a lot of really cool like symbolism when it comes to Cueno and people that have gimmicks that are somehow related to animals. Like, you've got Drago, like he's a dragon. Like, you've got this whole duality of it's Drago versus Phoenix in the ring and Drago versus Cueno in the ring, and the Cueno hunting a dragon. Like, they really kind of play on that anytime someone's gimmick is somehow linked to the animal kingdom.
I really want to see just how he hunts down Drago, because this match, like you were saying before, he was like kind of hunting him in the ring, and he was very methodical with it. But it was such an interesting style of wrestling. I've never really seen a wrestling match like that, and that's why I gravitated towards this one more, and this one was my personal favorite match of Lucha Underground so far, because it was unlike anything I've seen. One of my favorite moves that King Cueno did actually was when he did a standing drop kick straight in the face of Drago, and it was one of the smoothest drop kicks I've ever seen anyone do in the ring ever.
I remember exactly which part you're talking about, and he kind of just very slowly pulls him up to his feet, stands him up, and then just explodes with this standing drop kick just right in the head. Like, it's pretty wild. I think I've seen Orton has done some drop kicks like that. Mr. Perfect has hit a few. The one move that you'll see King Cueno do quite a bit throughout this series, and I believe he did it. Yes, he did do it in this one here, but the camera didn't really catch it properly. It's called the Arrow of Death, and it's that dive that he did through the ropes, but he doesn't just do it like everybody else. He will hit the front ropes, hit the back ropes, so he kind of hits the ropes twice to gain extra speed. But man, you want to call this, like, the Arrow of Death is like the best name for this move, because he literally shoots through that rope like an arrow.
Yeah.
And nobody in the business has a suicide dive or tope suicida quite like King Cueno. It kind of ends up becoming like his trademark in the series. So definitely keep an eye out for when he does that big dive and when he's like warming up by bouncing between the ropes, because he gets some crazy distance on those.
Yeah, I think Vampiro even said he just shot out right like a cannon.
So next there was a backstage segment with Conan approaching Prince Puma in the gym, and he warns him not to get involved in the Rick versus Mundo match tonight. So Conan's still playing the mentor role, Puma's still the, outrageously brazen, warrior who's ready to take on the world kind of thing. But it was a bit of an interesting one, and obviously sets up one of the moments in the main event, which I didn't really like, to be completely honest. But main event time was Johnny Mundo versus Big Rick. This was basically just a big showcase for Mundo, and when this show came out, WWE was well and truly the only wrestling company that people really knew. Impact was around, but I feel like it was having a real hard time at this point in time. But having two WWE former wrestlers like Mundo and Big Rick in the main event, I think that would have just been a case of like, all right, we still need to try and get people to watch this show. Let's put people on there that everybody knows.
Yeah, and I can see that with the match, because to me, this match was fun, but it wasn't as good as the last match or the one before that, and I think either Phoenix versus Penta or Drago versus King Cueno would have been a better main event for the episode.
Yeah, and I mean, put it this way, if they had this match in WWE, it would be the best John Morrison versus Ezekiel Jackson match the world has ever seen. But it's interesting how the two big superstars are being eclipsed by the no-name luchadors that everybody was just seeing for the first time. So as this match goes on, again, it was just basically a showcase for Mundo. Rick knew why he was there. He's there to, be the foil for the number one babyface. We cut to the locker room where we see Cortez Castro and Cisco attacking Prince Puma. I thought this was really jarring. Watch it flick from live action in the ring to like a edited fight in the locker room happening in real time. What did you think about the cutaway to the fight in the locker room between Cortez, Cisco, and Puma?
I actually kind of agree with you on that cut, that it was a little bit jarring, but I didn't actually mind the scene itself, like just disregarding how jarring the cut it was. I think it was a cool scene because we've already seen before in the show multiple times Conan just saying to Prince Puma, don't help Johnny Mundo, just listen to me, don't bother about Johnny, just listen to me. And we got the same thing again, and it felt like it was retreading it before, but then when the match happened and that moment actually hit, then it clicked, like, oh, crap, because now, when he's got these guys fucking beating on him, I think this is going to be the moment for Prince Puma where he's got to make the decision on whether he's actually going to go help Johnny or he's going to listen to Conan. And he's got to make that decision now.
So Mundo wins the match after DQ when Cisco and Cortez interfere and attack him, and the Crew beats them. I don't think they've officially been called the Crew. I'm pretty sure that's coming up soon, though. They beat down Johnny Mundo after the match. It makes sense that this was the main event, but I feel like, Penta versus Phoenix and Cueno and Drago definitely could have closed the show. Either of those could have easily replaced this in the final spot. But average main event, above average show. I think the two middle matches definitely made up for the main event. What were your thoughts on episode 4, The Thrill of the Hunt?
I thought episode 4 was a really fun match. This was probably the most entertaining beginning to end match because it had the most happening. It had those two awesome middle matches, and yeah, it had the final match, which was a little bit of a disappointment. But the thing is, it wasn't even a bad match, really, or it was still a great match. It's just it was totally eclipsed by two amazing matches before it. I still think it was really fun to see Big Rick, though, because I've been really excited to see Big Rick wrestle for the first time, because I haven't seen him in WWE, and the style of Johnny Mundo's fast, crazy combo style to Big Rick's just slow street fighting style is really, really cool to see.
Yeah, they are actually quite a good matchup, and they did their best. But I mean, what do you do when you're trying to follow Cueno and Drago and Penta and Phoenix? But
yeah, they tried their best.
They did. But that was the end of the episode. There was no after credits thing. We just ended with the villain standing tall over Johnny Mundo after putting him through a table, which is obviously going to lead to more Lucha Underground goodness next week. But yeah, that was an interesting episode. It definitely had its ups and downs, but let's move on to the last couple of segments of the show, starting with Where Are They Now? So this is the segment where I have a chat about what's going on in 2022 with some of the Lucha Underground talent and, just have a look and see where they are now as opposed to, the Lucha Underground days. And this week, Ivelisse is the topic of conversation. So you've mentioned before you don't really know much about Ivelisse. You haven't had a chance to sort of see much of her character. We did speak about her having her issues with Thunder Rosa in AEW, which was very publicly documented to peak at what was broadcast. Everybody saw it. But I mean, anything in particular you want to mention about Ivelisse before I talk about what's going on with her?
Not in particular, because I don't know jack shit about Ivelisse. I heard we talked last time about the situation with her and Thunder Rosa, and I thought that was a pretty crazy story. I haven't actually sat down and seen the footage though myself of how crazy that was. I didn't realize they had the footage of the match. I thought they would have tried to hide that or something.
Well, if you or anybody else wants to go and see that footage, it will eventually be on the FWCI Sports and Gaming YouTube channel because I edited it into the video version of that podcast. So go check it out there. But currently, Ivelisse she does hold a championship for Southwest Wrestling Entertainment. She's the Fury Women's Champion at the moment. It's basically a medium-level indie promotion that features some fairly well-known WWE wrestlers, so somebody there's obviously got some contacts. So she is still actively wrestling. She's not, blackballed from the business or anything like that. She, following Lucha Underground, she was a part of the class action lawsuit that was started by a whole bunch of Lucha Underground wrestlers who were signed to exclusive deals, but the show had been cancelled and there was no sign of it being brought back. But the El Rey network seemed to still want the exclusive rights to those talents. So this means they couldn't work elsewhere. So Ivelisse was kind of restricted as far as where she could work because El Rey had these bizarre contracts where they were trying to treat them like exclusive talent, even though Lucha Underground was done. The show had been cancelled. They were not letting these talent out of their contracts.
Yeah, that's a really, really shady way to go about a contract. I was always wondering, how Lucha Underground works behind the scenes with it being a TV show, but Jesus, that's a little sauce.
I think they were in a bit over their head, and I don't think the wrestlers or the network really knew how to approach that whole situation, to be honest. But King Cueno was another one who was affected by that. He was supposed to come to WWE a year before he ended up doing it, and that was because of these class action suits. So that sucks that Ivelisse had to deal with that. And the next time we saw her was when she returned in AEW in 2020 after bouncing around the indie scene for a little while. And we saw that controversy with Thunder Rosa. I did watch an interview with her from just a couple of months ago. She was on the Chris Van Vliet show, which is a wrestling podcast interview show with a fellow named Chris Van Vliet. He's a fantastic interviewer. And she was a little bit sketchy on certain details. He did seem to try and ask her about the situation with Thunder Rosa. I don't know, Ivelisse seemed to have trouble staying on topic. She was being very philosophical. She didn't really take much accountability for the things that did happen in that match with Thunder Rosa, where she was just no-selling on camera. I think she's a little bit misunderstood. I think she's been misunderstood for a long time, and I think it sucks to see a talented person like her struggling to find a path in the world of wrestling where she can genuinely contribute to the history of the sport. So I hope Ivelisse finds some balance in her life. I hope she can reflect and improve, and I hope she finds some hungry talent that she can work with in the future and impart her knowledge onto. And that leaves one more segment. What if they were? So this is the segment where I have a chat, where Malik and I have a chat about somebody who was never in Lucha Underground, and we sort of spitball some ideas on a storyline that they could have been, or a character that they could have used, or something to embed other wrestlers into the Lucha Underground world. So Malik, who have you got for us for this week's What If They Were?
So for this week, I ended up picking Chris Jericho for the What If They Were.
My favorite wrestler of all time.
I can honestly understand that. He's personally not my favorite, but I totally understand why anyone says he is the best wrestler of all time.
So I don't know when we'll have a chance to talk about this again, so I'll quickly mention it now. Many years ago, your dad, whom I've been friends with for a long time, since you were just a young lad, he bought me a signed Chris Jericho picture.
Holy shit. That's fucking awesome.
It was in a frame, and it came with a certificate of authenticity, and he was pretty stoked about this because he knew how much of a fan of Chris Jericho I was. Christmas rolls around, I see him, and my other mate bought me an even nicer framed Chris Jericho Undisputed Champion framed picture that was like way more like fancy looking.
Oh, God.
Also came with a certificate of authenticity as well. So your old man was like, well, shit, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what the weirdest part about this is?
What?
The signatures look different. But what do you got for us if Chris Jericho was part of Lucha Underground?
So for What If They Were for Chris Jericho, my idea for Jericho coming into Lucha Underground is not even that Jericho's in a wrestling space. He's playing a rich millionaire and he's got all this money from selling Chris Jericho NFTs, and he's just this rich businessman. It's a stupid fucking story, but I was having fun with it. And he starts selling these Chris Jericho NFTs and making millions from it. And with this money, he wants to purchase Lucha Underground from Dario Cueto. So he makes an offer to Dario to try purchase Lucha Underground, and Dario's like, no way you're even getting close to this. I don't care how much money you have, the temple is mine, and you ain't getting close to it. So Jericho takes that personally, like Michael Jordan, and decides to make a competition company to Lucha Underground, and he's trying to get the roster from Lucha Underground and persuade them to slowly join them. And he starts giving them all these offers, like these big contracts, and saying he'll get them all these crazy merch deals, and he'll get them crazy fucking NFT deals and make him a billionaire just like him, you know? He's playing the fucking market, and he's just doing the cocky Jericho stuff as usual. Because Jericho, when he's just cocky, having fun with it, being comedic, you know what? Jericho is great at that. And he's also just great at drama, so when Lucha Underground gets serious, Chris Jericho would be perfect for that.
Man, hearing NFT and Lucha Underground in the same sentence, that just splits my brain into two halves, basically.
We were talking before about these What If They Were's. You were saying, like, you know what, get a bit more crazy with it. So I was just like, you know what, I'll have the most fun with it. I'll just have this, like, idea for modern Lucha Underground if I was just doing something for fun. This is what I'd fucking do.
See, honestly, that storyline, I'd say that's... I'm not sure how familiar you are with Sammy Guevara, but he's like a young kind of like social media hip kind of dude in AEW. I feel like he would be the best for that kind of thing. Like just the young dude who Dario's like, what is NFT? And he's like, come on, old man, you wouldn't understand. Like,
yeah.
That kind of thing. But I don't mind it though. I could definitely see Jericho being the the figurehead of a some sort of rival promotion. But I had to think about this one as well. So Chris Jericho. Now, when he was still in WWF in 2000, he was in Fozzy. But he wasn't really in Fozzy. It was very much like just kind of a hobby band. Like they were just like a cover band, I think. And he was doing this weird thing where anytime he would be interviewed about Fozzy, he would be in character as somebody named Moongoose McQueen, who would adamantly deny that he has any knowledge of anybody named Chris Jericho. He's never heard of Chris Jericho. He doesn't know what the hell you're talking about. He's Moongoose McQueen, lead singer of Fozzy, and that's who you're doing an interview with. And then eventually, when the band started actually gaining some level of success, they kind of ditched that and they were like, yeah, I'm Chris Jericho, you know, this is my band sort of thing. But I would love to see Moongoose McQueen return to Lucha Underground as like just an old sleazy alcoholic rock star. He's lost all his money, you know, he's like always just staggering around. Like he's good, don't get me wrong, like when he's not drunk, he's good at what he does, but for the most part he's just like this over the hill, you know, rocker who has to, you know, fight for money now just to get his Grey Goose.
That is way better than my idea. That is fucking amazing.
So I would love to see Moongoose McQueen in Lucha Underground, and I'm looking forward to making the footage for this on the 2K video games to accompany the What If They Were segment for the YouTube version. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for today, guys.
Thank you guys so much for coming down to the fucking podcast and listening to us tonight. We've been having some fun talking about episode 4.
And if you do want to follow anything else I'm up to, go to FWCI etc. on YouTube or FWCI Sports and Gaming as well. Follow me on Twitter at FWCIE or Instagram at FWCIECT. Malik, or ETC I think it is, I just said it wrong. Malik, where can they follow us, the podcast, on Twitter? All the pressure is on. I am waiting for you to nail this.
Alright guys, you can come down and follow us on Twitter at Back to the Temple on Twitter. Like us, follow our page, follow everything we do on there. We'll be posting updates about our podcast on the Twitter page.
Actually, my thing's not recording, man.
Oh shit, what?
Nah, I'm just kidding.
Actually got me there for a second. I fucking shit bricks. I was like, man, I got it fucking finally once.
Don't worry, man. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. And as always, be well, stay safe, look after your friends, and we'll see you on the next podcast. Peace.
Peace.